I still remember the night she said it like she was reading a weather report. Flat, emotionless, certain. "Don't expect affection," Emily told me. Her arms crossed as if the words themselves needed a barrier. We'd been married 12 years. Not perfect years, but stable ones. Steady jobs, a house that smelled of coffee and laundry detergent, Sunday dinners with her parents. Yet somewhere between routine and resentment, something cracked. First, I thought it was stress. She'd come home late, scroll through her phone, and claim exhaustion. I'd offer to cook, to rub her shoulders, to watch her favorite show together. Every attempt landed with the same dull thud. "I'm not in the mood." Weeks turned into months. Touch became negotiation. Conversation became logistics. And love became a rumor we both pretended to believe. The night of her declaration, I was standing by the kitchen counter, holding a mug that had gone cold. She was scrolling through an online store, eyes glowing blue in the phone light. I asked, quietly, "Do you ever miss us?" She looked up, sighed like I'd asked for the moon, and said it, "James, don't expect affection anymore. I can't give what I don't feel." There was no fight, no tears, just the dull finality of a judge stamping a file. Something in me froze, then cleared. For years I'd been bargaining for breadcrumbs. That sentence told me the bakery was closed. I nodded, walked to the sink, poured the cold coffee down, and said just as calmly, "Then don't expect protection or money." Her phone dropped onto the counter with a soft clack. The silence that followed had weight. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the faint tick of the clock, the moment the power dynamic shifted. She laughed, sharp, dismissive. "You're kidding, right?" I met her eyes. "You said you're done giving what you don't feel." "I'm done giving what you don't respect." It wasn't anger. It was arithmetic. For every withdrawal of warmth, I'd make an equal withdrawal of provision. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not out of drama, but clarity. For the first time in years, I slept deeply. The next morning, Emily was already dressed for work. The smell of her perfume lingered. The same scent that once pulled me closer but now just reminded me of distance. She didn't speak as she passed me by, but I noticed her eyes flick to the empty space where my wallet usually sat on the hall table. By noon, she texted, "Why did the joint account alert me about a freeze?" I replied, "Because it's not joint anymore." That was the spark. Her next call came with volume. Shock, disbelief, a tremor of panic she tried to hide behind anger. "You can't just." "I can," I said. "And I have." By evening, her tone changed. She came home early, suddenly talkative. She tried cooking dinner, something she hadn't done in weeks. The smell of pasta sauce filled the air, nostalgia wrapped in garlic and apology. But I'd already eaten. She asked if we could talk. I said sure. She asked if I was serious about what I'd said. I told her seriousness was all we had left. "James, I didn't mean it that way," she murmured. "I just needed space." "Space isn't the problem," I replied. "Distance is." For years I thought love was endurance, that if I stayed calm long enough, things would heal on their own. But that night I realized healing needs participation, not just patience. She looked small for the first time, not cruel, not arrogant, just unsure. And maybe that's when the price of indifference finally showed up at her door. Over the next few days, the silence between us changed shape. It wasn't just awkward anymore, it was strategic. She started to notice the small things missing. The automatic transfers that stopped, the extra card I canceled, the quiet disappearance of convenience. For years, Emily had controlled the emotional current of our home. When she smiled, things felt right. When she withdrew, the air turned heavy. I had always adjusted to her moods like a man tuning a radio, careful not to lose the signal. But this time I didn't adjust. I let the static play. The first real shift came on Friday night. She walked into the living room wearing that same silk robe she used to save for anniversaries. She sat beside me on the couch, smiled faintly, and said, "Maybe we should start over." There was a time when I would have melted at those words. This time I simply looked at her. "You said not to expect affection, remember?" Her expression faltered. "I was angry." You weren't. You were certain. Angry people shout. Certain people declare. She looked down, fiddling with her wedding band. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That weekend, she found out her car payment bounced, the one I used to handle automatically. Then came the streaming subscriptions, her gym membership, her salon appointments. Each cancellation was a reminder. Love and money both require reciprocity. Sunday morning, she confronted me in the kitchen. Are you seriously doing this to punish me? No, I said. To mirror you. You said you can't give affection you don't feel. I can't give resources where I'm not valued. She looked stunned, as if hearing her own logic reflected back for the first time. You're being heartless, she whispered. I smiled faintly. That's what self-respect sounds like to people who've been living off your compliance. She turned away, wiping at her eyes. I didn't gloat. I just picked up my coffee and stepped outside, the morning sun hitting my face like a quiet verdict. It took about a week for the pretense to break. She stopped wearing perfume. Her tone softened. One evening, she followed me into the garage while I was fixing a shelf. I miss us, she said quietly. I didn't look up. You miss what I provided. That's not fair. Neither was the way you loved me. She stayed silent, and for once, that silence didn't wound me. It freed me. Later that night, she knocked on the guest room door. Can we talk? I opened it, expecting another negotiation, another apology shaped like self-defense. But her eyes were red, her voice small. I didn't realize how cold I'd become, she said. I thought I was protecting myself, but I was killing everything we had. It wasn't manipulation this time. It was confession. I sat beside her. You can't punish someone for wanting what you promised when you said, I do. She nodded, tears spilling freely. I know. I pushed you away so hard. I forgot why you were trying to hold on. The truth hung between us like fragile glass, breakable, but real. For the first time in months, she reached for my hand. It wasn't passion, it was apology. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. I needed time, and maybe she finally understood that. We didn't fix everything that night. We didn't fall back into old rhythms. But she began cooking again, talking again, showing up instead of shutting down. And I, in return, began unfreezing the things I'd locked away. The accounts, the kindness, the possibility of us. Looking back, that moment in the kitchen when she said, Don't expect affection, turned out to be a mirror I desperately needed. It showed me who I'd become. Someone waiting for permission to be loved. Not anymore. Now, when people ask how we made it through, I tell them this. Love dies quietly when comfort replaces effort. But sometimes, losing access to what you take for granted reminds you why it mattered in the first place. Emily learned that lesson the hard way. And me? I learned that respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated.